Father official, know it's time to make it official, yeah. Father official, a well-rounded individual, yeah. He's a father, writing rules for the family, he's an author. Once he got his mind made up, you can't stop him. Ain't no need to try to block him. A father will do anything to show his kids he got him. Legacy, we had to build that from the bottom. I took the vision and jotted him, he hit me with the product. Father official, we full throttle, can't stop. Time to make it official.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. I'm actually just coming to you today. My name is Gary, and I'm with some of my brothers today, Andre, Marcus, and we just want to come have a discussion with you about fatherhood. You guys don't know, I'm a father to myself. I do want to set the presence that if you're here today, you're here to learn, you're here to listen, and as they say, we listen and we don't judge. How y'all brothers doing today?
Man, we good, man. Good. Thanks for having me.
Doing good, man.
It's always interesting, when we say the word father, right? Because, it's only really one time that fatherhood is really celebrated, and that's on Father's Day.
Fathers have a diminished role in our society, but we've kind of devalued ourselves as well. And then, of course, the negative press on fathers makes the good fathers look bad, so negativity kind of gets more attention than positivity. But I see the fathers that are in their kids' life, we all try. But then the ones that are trying, it's a learning process, it's a learning curve. So it's definitely challenging being a father.
Before we even jump that far, a father, the individual who not only first seeded a child. Let's just start from the beginning, right? Because that's the craziest part, right? We get out here, we make these babies, and it's almost like, do we assess our partners first?
I mean, I could just speak for a lot of dudes out here. When we making kids, how many of us actually made a kid because we were trying to make a kid? I think it was normally, you assess that partner because of what they look for and what that temporary feeling we would have got from them. Not necessarily looking at them saying, you know what, I think she'll be a great mother, I think she'll be a great wife, I think she'll be a great partner. We don't look at that. As men, we looking at the fun part, and then we kind of deal with the parenting on the back end. Because it's typically, especially in the black community, more than oftentimes, it's a mistake that was made.
It's crazy.
But I also say that the woman in that situation necessarily, hey, I'm ready to have a baby with this dude. They may cross their mind like your potential, but I think a lot of fathers, where we kind of get the bad press is that historically, throughout history, guys, we don't necessarily relate to emotions and feelings. And definitely the way society is going now, kids, you got to be able to do that. If not, it creates its own set of challenges, and the kids rebel or get distant. Especially as toddler, I can think about a lot of mistakes that I made when my kids were young, because it's my job to love you, or not necessarily my job to love you, but teach you right from wrong and respect. And I feel like nowadays the dads that do that, we shoot ourselves in the foot because we ain't trying to hold and nourish and all that different type of jazz. And I think that creates problems going as they develop.
Okay, so I will say back to that, I think that's kind of subjective based off of how we created parenting, and most of us probably created a single parent home at some point or another.
Yeah.
But if we did it how it's supposed to be structured, a lot of those things that you spoke about, we probably wouldn't have to do, because mom embodies all that stuff, and then dad embodies certain things. And so if we're in the house together, we complement each other's roles. I think the reason why you probably have to carry that stuff is because your kids not in the same home. So when they're here, you kind of got to get in the same nurturing and caring that their mother would have given them when they're with their mom, and vice versa.
That's a fair point. But hey, I done seen it where, you got the kids in the same household. Right? Let's be real. The kids, the daddy, the mama, everybody in the same household, and you still have this kind of friction, right? Whether it's just, a task role agreement thing, right? Or a gender role task assignment, or, just any kind of discrepancy, right? Routines, and now, because now what we're backing up to, honestly, is the making of a father. Because it's not just the routines that we see in our home. What we see in our home is typically what we saw in our home. You understand? And just explaining how, they're on that path of, we need the healthier meals, Like they cooking, we won't just do the chicken breasts. We trying to cut out all the extra stuff, all the garbage, the chips. They trying to cut it out. But if you send the father on the independent shopping trip, they getting it like it's
I can
for
tell
school.
you right now, boy, if you send me on a shopping trip, I'm gonna come back with a bunch of snacks junk food, and you may get some water, that's probably going to be the healthiest thing you get out of me.
Well, we know. We're not sending you, bro.
But to y'all's point, though, to Dre's point, I think growing up in with both parents in the house is preferred if it's healthy. But then also, I think we still got, because my position in talking to different fathers and our couples, sometimes the father still has that we don't know how to connect emotionally. So the kids, the only difference is I say the mother is more likely to defend you in a situation where the kids, as far as when it's a broken home. So I think in general, like guys now, we got to do better of adapting and adjusting to society, to the way society is.
All right, but look, broken home.
Okay.
Broken home.
Yeah.
We say that, like, we can't use that lightly because we
Okay.
got to recognize that in our community, you know, we're scattered people. So naturally, in our homes, it's not going to be right off the bat perfect.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, all homes almost start off broken, in my opinion. I mean, I thought too.
Most black homes start out that way. I ain't gonna get into, you know, schematic, I'm not schematic, but banter about how we get there, but we're there. So like you said, you know, we're reciprocating what we see in the house. So we saw that growing up. We saw our mom by herself and she's struggling, and then all of a sudden we're putting people in the same position. But I think to say that, because I mean, you look at, you know, Caucasians, you know, there's 2-parent households. A lot of Hispanics are 2-parent households, you know, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I'll say this. Whoa, I say with white culture is starting to be in the same position. Hispanic, this generation are starting to trend in the same way. It's just that unfortunately we had a head start. we was already going that way. But I actually think now we're starting to be like understand the importance of a 2-parent household, and I'm sure we're gonna get into this, the importance of co-parenting. That's something that I didn't value as much when my kids were younger, but as I've gotten to focus on what's really important as far as the development of our child. I think my mindset when I was growing up was, or the cliche of doing what's in the best interest of a child. But I'll challenge that because if I'm with somebody and we're not in the same house, you may do what's in the best interest on your version of it, and I'm doing what's in the best interest of my version. And I think eventually what we got to do is come together and really be like, okay, she's trying her best. She's doing her thing. Let me compliment that. And I'll say definitely when I was younger, it was, okay, she do that. That means I got to go harder on this instead of being like, okay, cool, she doing her thing, I'm doing my thing. We can work together. I feel like that's what's being lost.
So I do feel like when we speak about the phrase "the best interest of the child," I think that's a big phrase. That's like an umbrella phrase.
Yeah.
But I think where the issue come in that when we have that is, I may determine what's in the best interest of my son, and then his mom, on her own status, may say this is the best interest. I think the best interest is when the parents come together. They make a decision on what's in the child's best interest, and then they both implement it in 2 separate households.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's where my biggest issue came in with parenting, and I'm still having that issue with parenting, is I believe that this is one way that's in my child's best interest, and his mom believes something else. Now, who's right or who's wrong? If you talk